presidency says no rift between executive and legislature over insertion in the 2022 Appropriation Act.
An NLC tasks government on consideration of workers' welfare in 2022.
Port Harcourt Refinery Management says no cause for alarm over reported fire incident.
It's a small spark from the pump, and that made fire to start. And of course, you know, naphtha is just like petrol. It's highly volatile, highly flammable, and the fire quickly engulfed the discharging truck as well.
Having at the back of your mind that you are a man with responsibilities, you ought to have prepared yourself ahead. So whatever I'm spending now, I don't think it has anything to do with the children's school fees and all that.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss managing finances in 2022.
Time. It's your most precious gift because you only have a set amount of it. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. This quote by famous author Rick Warren buttresses the fact that each year is a gift of time for us to grow, get charged and recharged to pursue our dreams and aspirations. With this, I say a Happy New Year to you out there. Claire, Happy New Year.
Oh yes, Happy New Year, Jume.
I've not seen you since 2021.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And indeed, it's a happy New Year to all our esteemed viewer and from the entire crew here on Good Morning Nigeria. As it's the very first edition of the program for the brand new year 2022. Interestingly, it is of course the New Year holiday today, so the euphoria of the festivity is still in the air. And by the way, the quotes that Jume just read out to us by Richard Warren indicates that the start of each new year is indeed a gift of time for a very fresh start. And just to add, Jume, that, you know, there's also another quote which says that time is money, you know, and so time and money go together. So which means invariably that we all have to learn to manage our time so that, you know, we have a wealthy life. And that's just a distraction. So back to my script now. It's like having a book of 365 blank pages to write afresh. Indeed. So each new year holds this magical, I really don't know, magical promise of new opportunities, and of course new possibilities to change our lives for the better. But some say, I mean, it's just like any other day.
Well, they say time is money, so I think it's a cliche that has been overused, but it is still very, very significant. You know, you captured it well. So little wonder a lot of people usually make New Year resolutions at the beginning of the year to better their lives and improve their fortunes. But not everyone is able to stick to it, the New Year resolution, or pursue it religiously. I can't. I definitely have never, you know, done or had any New Year resolutions in my life. I just go with the flow. That's what I do. And you know, you have to start over again and expect a different result. There has been a change of old habits to achieve new results, Claire.
Well, Jume, I can't say I have not attempted to renew my commitments, my personal commitments. But what I can tell you is I don't think I have been able to stick to it. Yes. But I do, you know, I'm very, very conscious of it. I'm very, very conscious of it. And talking about old habits, you know what they say, they never die. But Nigerians are known to be very big spenders and fun seekers. I mean, it's all obvious during the Yuletide and other festivities that come with Christmas and New Year celebrations. Now, forgetting that just ahead is the proverbial long month of January.
January, it's like a combination of 2 months. You collect your salary.
Some, I've heard so many things about January this month. Some say it's a month of 75 days. Some say it's a month of 90 days. You know.
And for some people who have to pay rent, pay school fees in the month of January, it is just not a joking matter. The 46th, they extended the 46th day of January 2020, which of course we know is non-existent because January has 31 days. But the joke is not unconnected with the fact that the month of January comes with so much bills to pay, ranging from school fees, like I said, to house rent, and to even servicing the car. To service some cars might just cost you like 100,000, depends on what you're riding. And, to be in good shape after the long travels of the Yuletide. But payday is usually at the end of the month for many workers in Nigeria. And waiting for month end in January is quite an endless wait.
Well, many workers, especially those who work for government like us, may have received our December salaries before, during the Yuletide. But the big question is, can what is left of our salaries and allowances, if any, carry us through the month of January? Now, do you have the financial muscle to pull through the month of January and the bills that come with it, pending the next payday at month end? And if the financial muscle is lacking, what could you have done differently in order to be in good financial standing in the rather long month of January and all the year long? To me,
thought-provoking questions there, Claire, and one can only imagine the financial state of an average family, considering that Nigerians have ostentatious tendencies of trying to impress by going for what they want, which may not necessarily be what they need. But just in case you are still in the spending spree, are there breaks that can be applied in managing your finances and be prepared for the long month of January and perhaps all year long? Well, this will be our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today, this beautiful Monday morning in the year 2022. My name is Juma Yusuf. Happy New Year.
And I am Claire Adilabo Abdurazak. I join my colleague Sweet Jume to say Happy New Year to you and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria for this new year. It's a brand new edition on a brand new day. We are beaming live as always on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And of course, Good Morning Nigeria never fails to be your favorite breakfast companion weekdays on Africa's largest TV network. And so we shall also serve you our complimentary segments in the course of our program. For now, our colleague, Dennis, okay? Now, I need to break this down for Dennis to be happy. Ade Gunloye. He's with the news this morning. But Dennis, we hear that women are better managers of finances and time. What do you say?
Oh,
Yes.
really? Okay, I'm hearing that for the first time.
Hello.
Good morning, Claire and Jume. Happy New Year and good morning, Nigerians. Here is the morning news. The presidency has cleared the air regarding reports that there is a crisis between the executive and legislature over an insertion in the 2022 Appropriation Act of 6,576 new schemes worth about 37 billion naira by the National Assembly. A statement issued by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, indicates that while it is true that the President expressed disagreement with it and many of the other alterations, including the reduction in the provisions for many strategic capital projects to introduce empowerment projects, there is no bad feeling between the two arms of government. The statement described media reports that the President was angry and lashed out at legislators during the signing of the act as lies, which amount to misinformation by persons trying to create a fiasco between the two arms of government on account of the budget. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, urges workers to remain productive and steadfast in nation building in 2022. In a New Year message by the NLC President, Ayuba Waba, the umbrella union of workers also urges government at all levels to be more attuned to the needs of citizens, to pay attention to the welfare of workers and the most vulnerable, as well as to the promotion of peace, rebuilding of social and physical infrastructure, and the attainment of local government autonomy. The NLC adds that it will resist every attempt to further increase the electricity tariff and the petroleum pump price in this new year. There is no cause for worry over the reported fire incidents at the Port Harcourt refinery. Managing Director, Port Harcourt Refining Company, Ahmed Diko, disclosed this when he took journalists around the affected area.
There was a small spark from the pump, and that made fire to start. And of course, you know, naphtha is just like petrol. It's highly volatile, highly flammable. And the fire quickly engulfed the discharging truck as well. In the end, the damage that really happened was just to the pump bay, where we have like 3 pumps, which we use for the discharge, and then the discharging truck itself.
Christians are urged to be more prayerful and unwavering in their faith. This was the admonition of clergymen as they observed the first Sunday service in 2022.
If we human beings can decide to return to God Almighty, our Creator, to serve Him in truth and in spirit, He holds a year, He holds a future. He will make the year the best year for us. God is the one that enthrones. God is the one that puts anyone into a leadership position. So without God, everything we try to achieve will be completely zero.
A combination of bad weather and the absence of many pilots, flight attendants and other staff from work due to COVID-19 has led to the cancellation of over 2,700 flights in the United States. Some 7,500 flights were previously cancelled by airlines worldwide over the Christmas weekend. Air travel has continued to be severely disrupted in the United States, with bad weather in parts of the country coupled with the impact of a massive spike in COVID-19 infections fueled by the Omicron variant. The United States has 2,723 cancelled flights, more than half of the 4,698 cancelled worldwide. Well, that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues after this break with Jume and Claire. Good morning.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Next is business news with Kunle Ade.
Agricultural, pharmaceutical and refined products from Nigeria's mineral resources are all heading for the common African market, talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Being a continent endowed with human and natural resources, the volume of trade among nations is projected to have the potential of creating a free trade zone with a combined gross domestic product of $3.4 trillion. With a series of intra-African trade fair held, the Black Continent is therefore on course for greater heights in terms of economic growth. There is hope in sight now that there is an African solution to African challenges. There are some hurdles that need to be crossed if the idea of AFCFTA is to achieve its target. Transportation, which is critical to economic success, has been identified as a sector that must be actively involved in the process. Integration of the sector has been pinpointed as a needed driving force that will help actualize the idea. The Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology is now offering tips to Nigeria and other African countries signatory to the agreements on the way to go. It says with a population more than 1 billion, effective transportation is inevitable.
To meet the needs of new development in Africa in terms of the provisions in ACFA, where borders are open, where the goods that are produced have to move without borders from one end of Africa to the other. And we are X-raying the preparedness of the Nigerian transport system and see what else do we need to provide. Try to provide the necessary infrastructure.
With business news, I'm Kunle Ade.
All right, let's step up, and coming up next is newspaper review.
And our Bayo Atobi is in the studio. Happy New Year, Bayo.
Happy New Year, Juma. Happy New Year, Claire.
I'm
Happy
farther away from you.
2022. Good morning, Nigeria.
I'm farther away from you today.
Yes.
It's a new year, and,
Yes.
and one of my
Juma is
resolutions.
here to moderate.
One of my resolutions is to ensure that you have your adequate time.
Thank you very much.
No more, no less.
In fact, I had assumed that the resolution should be that anytime you pull out the yellow card, we should check the VAR to make sure that you give me my appropriate time.
Okay, just before we take a look at the paper, do you agree that women are better finance managers?
Yes. In the home, in the family, yes.
And
They
then
have
say
ability to divert their mind towards so many things at the same time. Multifaceted.
Yes.
Yes. Multi-pronged.
You know, women are great.
Yes.
All right.
You know.
So is my mother.
Yes,
So
and your
are my
sisters
daughters.
and your daughters and everything.
Yes.
We're just special people.
Thank you. My time.
You have the nation doing.
Yeah, I have the Nation newspaper. Let's begin so that we don't eat into your time like Claire said. You get your ample time to talk. Let's begin at the top of the Nation newspaper. Just above the masthead, we have 2023 poll. Jonathan Myth coordinators. APC governors back single term. You find details on page 3. Why Buhari signed 2022 budget. Why presidency. Details on page 4. Bandits kill 7 in Kaduna communities. Details on page 5. Senate probes PPPRA's 200 million naira to foreign firms. That is on page 30. Just below the masthead, the sad news of the passing of the Olubadan yesterday. And they say new Olubadan likely this week. President Governors Tinubu mourn. You find details on page 4. State House visitors to undergo COVID-19 test, says presidency. Details on page 3. NIMET alerts airline operators to poor visibility in 8 states. NIMET alerts airline operators to poor visibility in 8 states. Details on page 30. And the headlines we have in the Nation newspaper today, Buhari states fighting lost battle over $418 million Paris cash. With riders, AGF, AUGF, DMO, Finance Ministry joined in suit. Court fixes hearing on 15th February. You find details on page 4. And the picture story you see there, residents counting their losses after bandits attack on Selki Street in Ungwan Sanusi, Kaduna South local government area yesterday. And at the bottom plate of the Nation newspaper, new moon, Sultan directs Muslims to look out for Jumada al-Thani, 1443 after Hijrah. You find details on page 30. Okay?
Okay, so let's start with the headline story on the Daily Sun. And we'll just, in a moment, you have it on your screen. And the lead story today from that paper is Arawa, Afenifere, others set agenda for Buhari. And it comes with a couple of riders, emphasize the importance of peace ahead of elections and keep hope alive, Adeboye tells Nigerians as Lagos host Thanksgiving. Now, those are the 2 riders that come with the lead story. But there's also another story just a little above the nameplate. Just above the headline news. Mkpurumiri, man kills 2 siblings and 3 others in Ebonyi. And just to the side of the nameplate there, you also have some stories trending. If the camera can tell down a bit. Gunmen abduct ex-Plateau governorship aspirant Kemi Shea Varsity, who is also a varsity lecturer. Now, if we come down a bit, go to that, we see all that stories trending on the front page of Daily Sun. Benue government group clash over new Ochoidoma. And just beneath that story, you also find PDP in best position to rescue Nigeria. That's coming from River State Governor Nyesom Wike. Uzodinma named sponsors of Imo insecurity tomorrow. That's, of course, tomorrow will be Tuesday. You can read up details of that on page 26. Mbaka predicts forgiveness for Kano, other detainees, also trending on the front page. Now, bandits kill 5, injure another in Kaduna. That's also another subhead story on the front page of the Daily Sun. And gunmen invade Enugu community, kill 3, kidnap woman and daughter. And, well, the trending story just at the foot of the paper, Pastor Olukoya warns of deadly disease similar to COVID-19. Just let me also take you now to stories trending from another paper. That's the Blueprint. The Blueprint has quite a number of papers trending on its front page. And we will start, as always, with the lead story. And the lead story says, tackling insecurity in 2022 with 12 trillion naira budget in 7 years, Nigeria set agenda for troops and others. A number of trending story accompanying riders to that story. So let me also look at the story just beneath the nameplate. Banditry, Sokoto to review security containment order. And atop the nameplate, you find Nigeria records 532.3 billion forex turnover in 2021, and also MBF to Buhari end insecurity, tackle food crisis in 2022. 2 teenagers drowned in a Lorraine River on New Year Eve, unfortunately. And there's also other stories trending just beneath the headline story. You'll find I'll just take this very one. Buhari, Gbadabiamila, Oyetola, orders Mon, Oluibadan. That story is on pages 5, 8, and 9. And also, Senate is probing 200 million naira subscription scam in scrapped PPPRA. And NCPF felicitates with Nigerians, urges peace, unity in 2022. Now, debt service pressures to persist in 2022. That's according to reports. I think, Jume, you have a breaking story?
Yes, we have a breaking news just coming in, and it says former presidential candidate of the defunct National Republican Convention, NRC, Bashir Othman Tofa, is dead. He died early this morning, according to reports just reaching us. Quite a sad day.
Yes, Alhaji Bashir Tofa was the presidential candidate of the famous 1993 election that was annulled, that now took us to the tenure of General Abdul Salam, that saw to the birth of this current republic that is ongoing. May his soul rest in peace. Amen. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the 2022 appropriation bill into law on Friday, despite having misgivings about the bill. A statement by Malam Garba Shehu, the senior special assistant to the president, said that the president signed despite the insertion of about 6,576 new schemes, so as not to throw away the appropriation baby away with the bathwater. The statement says that the schemes inserted worth about 37 billion naira of projects, and the president was clear that the numerous changes in the 2022 budget could actually hamper its implementation. Over 10,733 projects were reduced from it, while 6,576 new projects were introduced. Nevertheless, the president assented because there are tens of thousands of other provisions which, when efficiently and effectively implemented, will impact on the livelihood of other Nigerians. Nevertheless, the president says that the executive values this relationship with the National Assembly because it has moved from the wild, destructive procedure that characterized the 8th National Assembly. Having ascended to the 2022 budget, the president will now direct that an amendment budget be proposed and prepared and submitted to the National Assembly when they resume from the reserves. The gesture is to avoid a confrontation and emphasize on dialogue, the impetuses for peaceful, democratic atmosphere. The Catholic Archbishop of Lagos, Most Reverend Alfred Adewale Martins, has enjoined Nigerians to be optimistic in the year 2022 because it will be a better and a prosperous year. In his New Year message, the Most Reverend Adewale Martins advised Nigerians to shun predictions of doom. He says such, he noted, tended to instill fear and anxiety in the minds of Nigeria. He says, however, that there were numerous challenges that are characterized the outgone 2021 year. But nevertheless, notwithstanding, Nigerians should be optimistic that 2022 will be a better and prosperous year. He called on President Muhammad Buhari to leave no stone unturned to safeguard lives and property, advising that fresh personnel would fresh rate minds be injected into the hierarchy of our security agencies. On the economy, he said the inflation level is too high. There's need to reappraise our economic strategies to cushion the hardship on the ordinary persons. There's good news from two Bethel students that were released over the weekend. Reverend John Hayab of the Chairman Christian Association of Nigeria, Kaduna, has confirmed that two students of Bethel Baptist were released during the New Year break weekend. One student was released on the 28th of December, and the second one was released on 2nd of January. This brings to 120 the number of Bethel students that have been so far been released. It may be recalled that their school was invaded and they were abducted when 121 students were taken away. Currently, there is only one student that is being held by the bandits that invaded that college. Meanwhile, Kaduna State Police Command has also reported to have raided bandits' hideouts in Sabombirini Forest in the Igabi local government area. Igabi local government, Chikun, are the nexuses of the criminal activities involving bandits in Kaduna State. 9 kidnapped victims were rescued. With 6 days to the commencement of the African Cup of Nations tournament.
6 days.
You have just 1 minute. In fact, they say grace.
We now have 13 players in camp,
Okay.
and 6 days to go. And teams we are to play are Egypt, Sudan, and Guinea-Bissau. Our first match against Egypt is on the 11th of January.
Indeed,
I
and
was
we're
going to talk
That's
about
the death group.
Yes, I was going to talk about the demise of Lolubadan, but you said the time is up. So
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Bayo, for
Thank you too.
understanding. Thank you. And indeed, we are all looking forward to AFCON. All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service. It's the very first edition this New Year Day.
You're watching the first edition of Good Morning Nigeria in the year 2022, right here on the network service of the NTA. As a prompt for our conversation on managing finances in 2022, correspondent Joseph Osen sampled the views of a cross-section of Nigerians in the nation's capital.
Challenges like paying of school fees, house rent, hospital bills. So these are challenges. So you have to prepare. You have to, use your number 6. If we are, as we are in the park now, we are enjoying. So one man will be telling you, January school fees is around the corner. So you know how to spend.
No money. How we plan, things will not go the way that we plan it for. There's no money. Some people, when they go to December, they will spend what they have all. And when they go to January, things will be hot. So I'm just advising people, because December is December. When we enter January, the new year, we know that December will come. So we have to plan for it.
Human beings, we don't learn from experience. People always run into this trouble year in, year out. And for someone like me and for people that I relate with, we all know that January you have to pay school fees. If you spend all the monies that you have worked for in December, and January and February you will suffer, you will struggle, your family will struggle. So you want to plan ahead. So that's what we have done. You plan for January and February as from October, November, such that you don't eat with your tenants, and you know that because generally it will be a very difficult month.
As you're stepping into a year, having at the back of your mind that you are a man with responsibilities, you ought to have prepared yourself ahead. So whatever I'm spending now, I don't think it has anything to do with the children's school fees and all that. So because I have already made a preparation, I don't allow them to meet me all of a sudden so that I don't run helter-skelter. Whatever that comes, you can apportion, no matter how little it is, budget it for school fees and all that, budget for this, budget for that. You can, if it's 1,000, you can decide to split 500 naira and maybe drop the next 500 for the family immediate usage.
You must surely prepare now, but with God, you know you are going somewhere.
My parents are always ready, so I encourage other parents to prepare financially for their children.
Wow.
Very, very wise boy there. Of course,
Already been groomed.
you know, you're speaking directly to the parents. And of course, just to say that 2 words, you know, kept recurring in that interview, budget and preparation. So you now have an idea of where we are going. And joining us to discuss this very important topic, let me quickly introduce right here in our studio, Ubinaya Orakpa. He's a face you're all familiar with. He's a personal development expert and, of course, an entrepreneur. He joins us. He's one of our first guests today on Good Morning Nigeria this New Year. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Always a pleasure. You all look gaily dressed.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
We managed it well.
And I see you have a staff.
Yes.
And moving on.
I'll say something about that later.
And also joining us from our Kaduna studio is Abdullahi Abubakar Gondu, lecturer, Department of Management Sciences, Kaduna Polytechnic. Thank you so much for joining us and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Also joining us via Zoom is Professor John Alabi. He is the Dean, Faculty of Management Science, Kogi State University, Ayangba, and Chairman, African Council for Small Businesses. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, let's start with Ubinaya right here in our studio. Ubinaya, you know, when we started our conversation, Jimmy and I were talking about the usual feeling about January, you know. Of course, after December, people have this impression that January is, you know, a longer month. We have 8 out of 12 months, you know, having 31 days, including January. We have just 4, you know, have 30 days. So why is this?
February.
Well, February has 28 days. So why is this general feeling about January, you know, being a longer month and indeed a month of poverty awareness?
If you don't plan.
Yeah. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
Just to say that there's nothing wrong with January. January is just the number of days. It has always been there in the calendar before you and I were born. So the truth of the matter is that we are responsible for what happens to us. So you always take responsibility for whatever. Talking about finances, what happens is that the situations around December, and it's not just a Nigerian thing. You have people going on vacation, you have public holidays, you have relaxation times, and so on. So people are usually tending towards spending more than they should spend. And it's an attitudinal thing. Your attitude will determine your altitude in life, as we say in personal development. And what you see is that people sometimes overdo or overreach themselves. Now, I'll give you an example. I was just thinking to myself that I didn't make any new apparel this December. You know, at my age, I'm no longer dancing for anybody to spray me money. You're not impressing anyone. But what we see is that a lot of people want to go with the Joneses. You want to do what others are doing. Now, transport fare to some parts of the country, whether you are going by air, by sea, or land, went up astronomically. Indeed. And it's not just a Nigerian thing. It happens elsewhere. Some people say it is their season to make more money. And when you make yourself a victim of circumstances, you shouldn't blame anyone. Now, someone said that January is about 45 days. Why? Because sometimes some employers of labor pay salaries earlier than they would usually pay. And what I've seen, really, I heard that child speak, is what is fundamentally wrong with our society. And I'll say this. The colonial masters colonized us 61, 62 years ago. Now, before they came here, they had been to India and a few other places. Now, what has happened to us is that there were 3 things the colonial masters were supposed to have taught the colonized people. Number 1 is academic intelligence, which is why you can hear me speak English. The danger there is the first question you ask me, why are you working with a staff? I'm turned out in my red cap, my traditional attire made by a tailor somewhere in Abuja here, and my walking stick. This is me facing reality, owning my difference. I am African. I am who I am, and I'm not about to impress you. And when I want to source what I'm wearing or what I'm eating, it is from around me, and sometimes it's cheaper. Now, that's the first one, academic intelligence.
Most times.
Most times it's cheaper.
Most times it's cheaper.
And so I'm not about to impress you by going to the mall in Dubai or wherever to buy those big things that cost in foreign currency, and then impress you, and then now not impress my family. The young boy talked about school fees, planning. The number 2 thing the colonial masters were supposed to have taught the colonized people is administrative intelligence. Today you hold a position in this place, you hold another position here. Let me tell you something. In business school, Enterprise Development Center at Atlantic University, where you have the Lagos Business School, we are taught that in a developing economy, everybody needs at least 7 streams of income to survive. But when the colonial masters came here, they told us we must go get jobs. And nobody told us that job is just over broke, an acronym, journey on the way to being broke. Any money that is counted is prone to a negative impact by inflation.
Can you say that again, please?
Job, just over broke, journey on the way to being broke. Your grandfather did not sit in anybody's compound for longer than a particular point in time. The Igbos have what they call the apprenticeship system, Eba boy, Emuahia principle, where you understudy those who have mastered a particular skill. Over time, you become a master, and then you start grooming other people.
So in essence, what would you say, before we go deeper into the crux of our conversation, what would you, say is the trigger for this ill feeling about the month of January? There's a kind of an ill feeling, when January approaches, especially among civil servants.
Thank you. The number 3 thing that the colonial masters were supposed to have taught the colonized people will answer your question. Let me ask you. You went to school. Were you taught money as a subject in school?
No.
But since you graduated, what is that singular subject that has been harassing your life?
Money.
Thank you. Knowledge is profitable to direct. For the average civil servant, you sit in that job, and I've had the privilege of training over 10,000 of them, working with CMD, Police Service Institute. She knows what I'm talking about. I've been around. I've made enough noise about this matter. And this is like a recurring decimal almost every year for the past how many years. We keep talking about it. And someone said 1,000 good intentions are not as good as one action. You have average civil servants, you have cooperatives, you have unions and all that. And you work in a team. They say together everyone achieves more with organization, resilience, and knowledge. If you have teamwork among the civil servants, even if your salary is not as much as that of the person that works in the oil companies or the banks, financial services, but you can work. So sometimes you can go buy 1 cow and 12 of you will share. The unit price of the portion you got is going to be lower than you're going to buy on a retail basis. So knowledge. So what has happened to us is that they were supposed to have taught us financial intelligence. But what do? This January, some people will be paid bulk. The next thing is they'll go into a car mart and buy a car they don't need to impress you, to impress their wives. Lack of financial intelligence. Okay, so the danger there is that we spend 7 years to learn architecture or medicine and law and journalism and so on, and then nobody takes time to teach us that singular subject that will last us through life, which is financial intelligence. We don't have enough of that. And if the foundation is destroyed, what can you do? That young child, you're seeing that by the age of 6, the mentality of a child is already, personality of a child is already built. If that child has already started learning how to plan his finance, I'll give you an example. My son in there walks up to me and says, "Daddy, I want to do a fun fair, Christmas fun fair." And I said, "You know the rule in this house." Because the sister also had come to me earlier on. And I said, "You want to do what?" He said, my birthday party. I said, "Okay, let's act like senators and honorable members." Say, "How does that work?" I said, "I want you to give me your budget proposal. When you submit your budget proposal, we will scrutinize it and you do your budget defense." So, Daddy, how does that work? I said, "You need to use your hearing." And it happened. They went together, did their work, and came with it. And then we defended it. I posted it on social media. You needed to have seen the comments from everyone.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You sort of laid, the platform for this conversation today about managing money. Let's now join Abdullahi Abubakar Gondu. He's a lecturer, Department of Management Sciences, Kaduna State University, Polytechnic. If you can hear me, Obinaya has sort of set up the pace for this conversation, and he has, outlined a lot of issues, pertinent, issues that needs to be addressed for Nigerians to be able to manage finances well. And people think it's a big and scary thing to be able to manage your finances, manage your life. But is it complicated?
It's not that complicated. It is all about lifestyle, drawing, our future plan, having an objective and mission of what we want to achieve and how we want our life to be. By nature, Nigerians are naturally extravagant, higher spenders, and we love ostentation, we love competition, and we love to impress other people. And these are the bane of our problems. Actually, if we want our life to be better, Mr. Obania talked of financial intelligence. It's all about planning, how to efficiently manage our finances, how to groom our future, how to create wealth for the future, and how to sustain and establish what is called financial stability. Financial stability creates future security for individual and for the families. You can see we talk of January and the challenges that come with it. Well, January is like any other month. It was about time. Time is constant. And changes are inevitable. So left for individual to program how he or his life want to be. He wants his life to be. It's as simple as that. So if you plan, knowing your income, knowing the source of your income, planning how you want to spend it, and the spending of your income have so many components. And if somebody have ideas, somebody have knowledge on how to do it, so it will come very easy. The components are all about the expenditure, the normal day-to-day expenses that have to do with school fees, feeding for the family, health care, other expenses. One need to make provision, for savings. Somebody need to make provision for investment. Investment is what will give you future security. Something to fall back for a rainy day. But if somebody chooses to consume instantly, whatever comes your way, you finish it. And then you have no provision for tomorrow. And in the event of emergencies, in the event of other occasional but heavy expenses like school fees that are just coming, students are going back to school very soon. And most of the schools, the students are expected to come in with their check. And you can see most families must have spent all their income during Christmas, during New Year, during other celebration. Nigerians love celebration. And we commit most of our money on issues and events that doesn't have direct value to our lives, on issues that doesn't create future wealth. So these are part of the problems that we're facing. So we need to have a change. And that change should come with our, our lifestyle. We need what we call lifestyle change. And we need to focus on ideal and realistic situation, things that will add value to our life directly, things that will create wealth, expenditures that will give us protection for the future, and things that will give us financial stability. And if we don't do that, it's just natural that, condition will not balance and will remain in financial crisis consistently and continuously. So that is my take on that.
All right. Thank you very much, Abubakar Ugwandu, Lecturer, Department of Management Sciences, Kaduna Polytechnic. Let's bring in Professor John Alabi, who is joining us via Zoom from Kogi State University, Ayingba, and also Chairman, African Council for Small Business and Entrepreneurship. I would like to, base my question with what our guest here, Obinaya, said earlier on. He probably answered my question on what triggers this ill feeling or apprehension that comes with the month of January, to what and what not the colonialists have taught us. And it all boils down to education or knowledge. But here is the issue. The apprehension that comes with this month particularly is not only, with those that, the unlearned or the uneducated. Precisely, it is more with those, who are learned, who have gone to school. In fact, the uneducated don't even care what happened. So my question to you will be, how is our financial, spending affecting our lifestyle?
Thank you very much. It's important to underscore the fact that the best time to start planning in a year, good, is the beginning of the year. It's also important to realize that financial planning, financial resource planning is critical to success in life. Either you're educated or you're educated, the important thing is that we must make sure that we plan finances. And come to think of it, there's no any almighty formula that you need to apply. They are just guidelines that you need to domesticate as an individual. And it's all over the place. I want to say that in avoiding financial problems, instability, or crisis, the guidelines are just the standard principles all over the world. It does not matter. If you don't know, if you are not academically literate, you are literate to the fact that you can know what you want and what you don't want. Each time I hear people say, plan, 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 we must be literate, or you must be academically sound. You do not require that. Commonsensically, first and foremost, to avoid financial crisis, in a year, all you need to do, starting point, is know your current situation. Know where you are. What are you doing now? Are you comfortable? If you know that, then you move on to setting your goal, simple goals, the things that you think you want to do based on the resources you have. And in those goals you are setting for yourself this year, okay, what are the priorities? Which one will come first? This one supersede the other one. So goal setting and prioritization is very simple. And if you do that, of course, you move on to now draw a budget. People talk about budget as one elitist word. No, it is just the things you want to do based on expected income and expenditure. And planning is critical. Proper planning prevents poor performance. If you plan properly through a budget, you prevent that. It's also important that when you draw that simple budget of what you want to do, you stick to it. Financial discipline. A lot of us do not stick to budget. You have a plan, you stick to it, and you move on. My brother from Kaduna is talking about, planning for eventual days. Yes, in this time and season, when we have the issues of financial crisis all over the world, you have limited finance. You need to create an emergency fund. An emergency fund will provide a buffer for you when things are down. And the culture of saving is another important thing. If you earn 1,000 in a month, if you don't cultivate an habit of saving, if you earn 1 million, you will not be able to save. Saving is a culture that we must develop, and you move on to that. Very critical. Another important thing I know people do not want to talk about is the issue of debt. Nigeria is borrowing, we are borrowing. I say to you, my listeners, and to anybody out there, I do not subscribe to that school of thought that debt is an aberration. No, but if you must borrow at all, borrow for essential and try to pay off your debts because it affects your financial goals. It's important. And once you plan, you set your budget, and you keep in between, please, as you go on, monitor your progress. January, February, March, do a review. Am I on course? Do project review, progress report. If you set milestones, in the first quarter, I will have done this. If you have done it, sustain it. If you have failed, review it. And as you go along, a lot of us will be academically sound, but we need financial advice. Where from? From 3 sources. From those who know, financial experts, business consultants. That's one group. Those who know about managing money and finances, because money has got wings. If you don't tape it, it will fly away. You also need advice from organizations that can assist you. Be a religious organization that has a package for assisting those who are in there. Again, you need to seek advice, all right, from those who can assist you. A lot of people do not know that we need advice. I was just looking at it. What kind of advice do you require? I don't say you should go to a pastor or a imam to decrease success for you. No, you work out success. God will bless the work of our hand. They tell you what and what to do. How do I say? Look for those who can assist you. Very, very critical. And that is it. So critically, for success in this financial year, you require, help. You require help on how to generate income. You require help how to manage your expenditure. You require advice and counsel on how to look for multiple sources of income. While you are paying your debt, can you create another job? Sideline. You have assets that are wasting away that you do not require. Sell it off. Put it into things that can give you financial stability. Our ability to seek help is very critical. So financial management is more crucial now than ever, because if you plan properly, you prevent poor performance. Money is, quote and unquote, good. But if you don't manage it, it leaves you. And the attitude of savings and investment, someone say, how can I invest when the money I have is not even enough?
Professor Labi, some of the things that you have, the points that you have raised are very practicable. But I'm wondering the class of people we are actually speaking to at the moment. Because right now, almost everybody is affected, from the mechanic to the artisan to the hairdresser, to the civil servant, even to the top, politicians. So, but are you telling me that, for instance, the hairdresser now will need to go to, to seek advice from a professional? Is that practicable?
Look, in all organizations you belong to, am I with you? In every organization you belong to, be socio-cultural. If you belong to social organization, either Ohaneze or Gbemo Dudua, in between there, they have instances when they talk to themselves about how to manage their finance. We have cooperative bodies you belong to, where you are doing your adashi or isusu. They tell you this money you are getting is not to do X, Y, and Z. It's for income generation. We have religious organizations in churches and mosques who are desire to ensure that our members live well. You can seek advice from them. In churches, I am a financial expert, for instance. I do it for churches. I do it for youth. Free. These are the things I'm talking about. Not paying money. No. In between your area of influence. If you are a mechanic, we have mechanic cooperative society. You have those of them who are doing well. You bring in people who can talk to you in the way you understand. This is a new year. What are my goals for this year? A, B, C, D. For the first month, 2 months, all right? 2, what are my sources of income? Will I be able to do X, Y, Z in the 3rd month? If not, what do I do? I have a motorcycle that I park, or I have a machine that's no longer usable, a generator that has become unserviceable. Why are you keeping it? You have 2. Dispose of it. Use the income to plow into income generating. This my resource is income. What can I do? I am a teacher, but I can go to school. I'm a designer. I can make some small clothes or chops and take it along. Multiple streams of income that will not affect your current job. We need to have that. Otherwise, you have crisis. And if you are in debt, cultivate habit of paying your debt because it affects you. Do not borrow if you cannot earn equivalent income. Don't go for a loan. A bank says, corporate says, I'll give you 100,000 naira. And you know that you have no capacity to do that. Take 20,000 naira, turn it around. And in doing all this, you seek those advice. And the God factor is there. It's a factor that you must talk about. It's critical. This is a simple thing for anybody. It is not elitist. Just look at your circle of influence. Identify people around you and move on.
Yeah, Professor Alabi, you know, most people will say it's easier said than done. Some people will say, I go out, make 500 naira a day. How am I supposed to, you know, save money? You said proper planning prevents poor performance. Let me now return to the studio where Obina is, you know, to effectively manage our finances. What are the questions we need to ask ourselves first before we go out to look for help on how to manage it?
Okay, the first thing you need to do is to do an assessment, appraisal of where you are. I think it was Achebe that said, if you don't know where the rain started beating you, you will not know where it stopped. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will lead you there. Now, almost every commentator has talked about having a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, let me bring it closer home. Sorry, it doesn't sound elitist like Prof said. This is something your grandmother has been doing over the years. Go and when things fall apart. This is something that people have always done using chalk to mark on the wall. I'm owing this person this amount, and they draw that line up to this one. I'm owing this other person this amount, they draw that line. And they keep records of it. So that you are constantly checking yourself to say, okay, am I spending more than I'm earning? He just talked about multiple streams of income. And I mentioned it earlier on that when I attended business school, they taught us that in a developing economy, mark my words, I read English first degree. In a developing economy, everyone needs at least 7 streams of income to survive. So I ask you a simple question. How many streams do you have? Okay.
Just one.
That's where it starts from. Now, is your salary increasing at the rate at which inflation is going? Absolutely. And it's not the fault of government, it's not the fault of your employer. You can't kill your employer. No, are you going to say you're going to stop working? No. He just talked about you having multiple streams of income. I'm sorry. So that I make it easy for my sister. Our grandmothers and grandfathers seem to have lived their lives better than we're living now.
Exactly.
So we get to the township because of poor planning. And because of what I talked about, what the colonial masters did to us, and I'm not saying I'm blaming them for life, but it's a function of mindset. As a person thinketh in their hearts, so they are. Yeah. So that mindset that you have gotten a degree, and you have your manicure and pedicure, the hunger that is coming to you is still doing press up. It is coming. The truth of the matter is that these artisans you are talking about may be doing better than you and I are doing, and I'm saying this with every sense of respect. For them, nothing is too small. Think big, start small. For them, there is Susu Adashe is working. But what do? We do our shebi and we go from one wedding to another wedding. We wear this one, we don't wear it next time. Prof just talked about freeing up assets, dormant assets in your house. I told you I didn't make any apparel this December. Tailors were reaching me, oh, God, you're not going to make. I didn't make anyone.
Because you have enough.
Because I had at least one way I wear. In the cover cloth, in the cover body.
I have never in my life
I washed the one I had. I cleaned it and I walked out with it. So long, I just say you need to identify what your goals are.
You know, Obina, sorry, you have just said something now, and that is why I'm interrupting your contribution, because earlier on I had asked, I think Professor Alabi, how our spending affects our lifestyle, and we must speak true to reality. Yeah. You know, sometimes we buy, especially during festivities, Salah, Christmas, and what have you. You know, we are compelled by pressure, circumstances, to do things that ordinarily we will not do. You don't want to do. You go buy things, you go buy this. Are we spending wisely? Do we spend wisely? I want you to speak to that reality of spending.
No, we don't, including myself. We don't. And sometimes we do it to impress. That word keeps recurring. We do it to impress. And it's a function of us taking a deep breath and telling ourselves, I mustn't do this. And then it's also a function of having a plan. If you have a plan already listed, and you say, at this point, I'll do this. And to sustain this lifestyle I'm living, I need to do these other ones. So there are two things involved here. You don't manage what you don't have. I know the topic is managing personal finances 2022. If you don't have, what are you going to manage? So this year of wealth creation is important. But what do we talk about mostly around is job creation. Wealth creation is a mindset.
You know, this Christmas, for instance, ordinarily, Jume, you're aware of it. You know, you could go to the market and purchase, you know, maybe chicken or even broiler or the one they call the native chicken. It used to be cheap. You could get it for 2.5 or 3.5 or
went for 10,000.
Now it went as high as. So must you buy chicken during this period?
Why didn't you grow your own chicken? I'll give you an example. I'll give you. No. You may not have space, my darling. There are many ways you make money. Friends and family. For instance, that's why we talk about entrepreneurship. That's why I focus on it. That's all I talk about. She knows what I'm talking about. That's what I talk about. And my people say, "Aka jaja with manu, sand-soiled hands beget oily lips." This year, you must learn to dirty your hands. Positively, that is. And you must have when we talk about financial intelligence, I'm talking about mentors. Prof was right. If you don't know, go to those who know. And like he said, you mustn't pay heavily for it. I don't subscribe to not paying for it. If people pay money, they pay attention.
They pay attention, yes.
People don't value free things. And that is the problem of this. See, this issue of palliatives and this issue of helping empowerment. See, let's tell ourselves the truth. People spend money on recharge card, spend money on everything. They do wedding, they call MC, call everything. But when it comes to paying for knowledge, they hardly pay for it. If we don't have the mindset to pay for knowledge, we're in trouble. So we need to understand that your father paid for it. Your father went to somebody to learn how to tap and wine. Your grandmother went to somebody to learn how to do a few other things, how to cook certain soups. And your grandmother knew that there are 4 market days in Igbo land, Eke, Ori, and Kwa Afo. And she prepared for those markets. Your grandmother had a backyard. Let's go back to your grandmother. She had ogo, egusi, okra, chicken, potato. Your grandmother had things to sell at each point in time. If she got old, talking about those in retirement, and she knew her waist was paining her and eyes were failing, she couldn't get to the big market so that nobody pushes her down. She called a younger wife to say, go to my backyard, pick 1 chicken, dig up from my husband's farm the tubers of yam, and then early in the morning, somebody taps palm wine. They drank their palm wine. They went for their hunting. But what do? You want to go for vacation in Dubai. From there, you fly to Junket to Los Angeles, pack all our money and go there. I'm wondering why Nigeria is not moving fast. So it's a function of planning. Now we have to borrow 6 billion to fund our budget, 17.1 billion budget. Long and short is that these micro issues are affecting the macro, which is at the national level. Every local government area in Nigeria has at least 1 product. Go to Smedan. It's called one local government, 1 product. There are 704 local government areas. Have you gone to Abia State to go and carry the palm oil in Isialangwa? Or go and carry the gari in Osio my local government area, and bring to Abuja? There are over 718 MDAs in Nigeria. What are you doing? NTA has branches in every state in Nigeria. I'm sure even beyond every state capital.
Even local governments.
Where are the cooperatives in NTA? Now, when we finish this talk, can all the MDAs gather themselves and submit all their submissions to NTA? If the cooperative in Ministry of Water Resources that has 12 river basins decides to take over all the river basins and begin to grow ogo, if they send you ogo in Abuja and you distribute it in Labour House with Nigerian Labour Congress and so on, these are talks we have made over time. So let's stop blaming anybody. It's about financial intelligence, knowing what to do. Now, let me also calm down and address this matter.
I think you should calm down first.
No, because of the passion I have about it.
No, we will bring you.
The tension inside this country.
So that we can also allow others to make their contribution to make it.
Let's reach out to Kaduna, where Abdullahi and what we're going to do is, the conversation is getting interesting, and more issues are coming out on how we can manage our finances. Especially, let's talk about handling the family itself, because finances is connected to the family. A lot of people out there have children they can't afford to take care of. They say the amount that God has given, He will definitely give food. Is that the way we should go about in this country? COVID-19 was an eye-opener for Nigerians. It exposed a lot of uncertainties. What's your take on that?
Families are the critical stakeholders in managing personal finance. In fact, everything about us revolves around the family. So for one to effectively manage his personal finance and achieve financial security and stability, one needs to carry the family along. And not only the families, like it was said by the professor, other stakeholders are also there, friends, cooperatives, your co-workers. You need to engage people. You need to seek for advice. You need to make consultation. You see what is happening with majority of us. I was privileged to have discussion with somebody, in the far north, when somebody's wife is pregnant and she delivers, we celebrate at the weekend. After 7 months, there's lotaram and whatever. And somebody went to somebody seeking for assistance, to get around. And the person told him that I will not give you anything, that you are not a serious person. Why should I give you money to buy around? That your wife is very responsible, your wife is honest, and your wife was kind to you. She gave you 9 months notice, and you are not prepared to buy around? 9 months notice, and you are not ready? And then you are a joker. So you can see how family, and you see situation whereby a person maybe earning 40,000, 50,000, overloaded with a responsibility, maybe 3 wives, 4 wives, maybe 20, 30 children, that if you divide the income per head, probably every member of the family may just go with maybe just 1,000, 2,000. Tell me, at this current situation, how will that amount of money take care of the responsibility of that family? So eventually, somebody have contracted marriage with what we call poverty. The person have contracted, signed, sealed, and delivered with poverty. So these are some of the situations we tend to carry and overload ourselves with the responsibilities that we do not have the capacity to take. It's just like even a vehicle, a truck with a capacity of 5 tons, and you are loading it with maybe 15, 20 tons. Tell me on earth, how will that car move? That vehicle cannot move. It will crash. And this is part of the situation with us. So we should learn to be realistic. We know the level of our income. We know what comes in. We know where we expect it to come. And we plan realistically on how to spend it, on what to do with it. And that will give us peace. That will give us harmony. If we fail to do that, we are actually, creating even more problem, compounding our problem, multiplying our problems. And that is what is happening to majority, greater majority of us and the families. Mr. Obunia mentioned about celebrations, We celebrate. You can see that in most of the state, in most of the towns we have, areas, every week is celebration. It is either marriage, naming ceremony, encore, so many things. And you see people spending money unnecessarily. You see people spending money that will not generate additional money. Some even go to the extent of borrowing to impress others. Who are you out to impress? You are not in competition with anybody. You are not out to impress anybody. Your life is your life. And if you are in problems, you are the one in problem. The highest people can do is to say sorry.
Abubakar, I'm glad that our other colleague Kingsley Osadolo is not here. He would say Claire and Jume the uncle. It's Claire and Jume. But honestly, I agree with you about the issue of the uncle. And again, if you look at what is happening,
we were even discussing uncle
this morning. So what is happening at this period? The transport fare is so high, and a lot of people are forcing themselves, to travel despite the huge cost. Can you imagine that from Lagos, for instance, to Abuja, someone said he had to pay as much as 25,000 naira by road?
Thank God for the free train ride.
By road? Yeah. So I'm taking my question to Professor Alabi. We have been able to identify points, processes that we can activate to be able to manage our finances. You talked about budgeting, you talked about preparation, you talked about seeking knowledge, you talked about seeking help. But the most important thing you talked about is know yourself. You said you must know yourself. And that is one of the philosophies, that Plato taught. He said, man, know yourself. That's the fundamental first step to, gaining knowledge. Can you tell us, with regards to managing finances, how can we know ourselves?
Thank you very much. Know yourself. Yes, that is the starting point. I alluded to that fact when I talk about identifying where you stand. In planning your finances, it's a long-term thing, short and long-term. But first and foremost, I want to know that, I am a graduate on level 8 and it's 80,000 naira. And so, if I must draw my budget, I must know the resources available at my disposal. And what can I do with those resources? Your colleagues who want to buy a car, they will go to corporate and pick a 2 million naira loan and want to struggle to pay within 12 to 18 months. You do not have to do that. Identify your ability, identify the resources you have, financial, look at the opportunities around you, where you stay. What can I do to boost my income? It's very critical. So income, because the critical thing in managing finances, income, expenditure, savings, investment, and protection. Essentially, those are things you do. You want to ensure that I know my resources that I can generate to meet this. I said a while ago that a lot of people want to leverage borrowing to boost up their image. Don't do that. As a matter of fact, I advise people, do not borrow. I'm a Christian. The Bible says, owe no man anything. If you go a borrowing, you go a sorrowing. If you must borrow at all, it must be for necessity. So that you look within income. So resource identification is very important. And don't borrow. And once you know that, you move along. Again, we have instances where people do not know how to manage their expenditure. Your expenses will be calibrated such that you look at it. If I'm able to meet this income target, then I can afford it. Oh, what is wrong with Uncle, my brother, my sisters? There's nothing wrong with Uncle. It's about strategizing and planning how to get into Uncle. You belong to an age group on a bed, and you want to have. You tell them, we are not buying the organza of 20,000. We just go for the 1,002, Kaduna wax. Uncle means uniform. So we can be uniform even in a 1,200 naira Uncle. So you must. Also, it's important to know your circle of friends. So that I can stay within those circle of friends. It's important. One critical area as we go along to ensure that we stay within is the issue of debt. My sister, you did mention something a while ago. I'm earning 500 naira. How would I save? Some are even neck deep in debt. In managing your finances, two issues have come to me over the years. The issue of debt is number one. Let us try to exit debt. Debt is not a natural thing. Today, everybody is borrowing. Borrow to buy a car, borrow to change your chairs, borrow to attend a ceremony. These are unnecessary burden on our finances. Try to exit them. Make sure that the debt you borrow, the money you borrow for emergency can be paid. And where you cannot earn equivalent income, don't go. My brother talked about Nigeria going to a total of 50 trillion. Well, we have a GDP that can take it if you rejig the economy. But that's the different thing. For individual, I think it's important. And you ask me, we must exit the debt quagmire. I'm saying to you, some people are into cooperative. I have a lecturer in my institution that earns about 280,000 naira. Every month, he goes on with about 15 to 20,000 naira. Why? Because he's already in a debt quagmire. He pays for chair, he pays for the house he built, he pays for the car because he wants to belong to the Joneses. So he keep paying, and I really wonder how do you survive? The family is affected. So we must exit that. So if you have any asset that is unused, dispose of it. Relieve yourself of this stress. God is not interested in you suffering and killing the family. The innocent child must eat. he must go to school, he must transport himself. So it's important to do that. And one area again is budget cutting, expenditure. I call it financial discipline. Where you have budgeted that this is what you're going to do, and you find out that you have strain on your finances, have the courage to bring down your budget. Nothing stops from doing that. Extra budgeted spending is not out of it. Even the one you have budgeted, things are getting tighter. Try and reduce it. It's very critical. Otherwise, you have it. The issue of second job is critical. We are in a pandemic environment. You can tell me that we have exited recession. That one are for book. Price of goods are high in the market. We should patronize made in Nigeria, Abakaliki, Badegi, and Takwa rice. The Uncle Takwa rice is now 25,000 naira. These are getting expensive today. So the issue of recession is new. The economy is really in a serious distress. Inflation is galloping. Therefore, in 2022, we must cut our coat according to our clothes, not size. If you are so large, don't sew agbada, sew jacket. That is what it means. And make sure that you manage your resources. All right? And for our ladies, I'm begging our mothers in the house and those who have girlfriends and handbags, tell them they should limit their demands on the house head. Have a common purse that creates a buffer for the entire family. Let's join hands together. You are on 300,000 naira, Madam NTA. Your husband is on 400,000 naira. Let's have a common purse for emergency so that we can fall into it. And anyone that goes into that purse should tell the other, husband, disclose your income to your wife. Tell him, I'm just earning 100,000 naira. Don't compare me with Mazi or Kafo in the studio who has a walking stick. I don't have a walking stick. I'm not red cap, I'm black cap. Or my brother in Kaduna, all right? If you have 10 children, tell them times are hard now. And for us who are going to wedding, let us limit our family size. No be family planning now. What it go teach us how to limit our family size is this economy.
Thank you. Before Jume comes with her question, I just would like you to know that you also speak to our men, our spouses, you know, to know that the prices are high. You just said it yourself, so that they also up their, you know, budget.
And also tell us their income. Okay, Prof, thank you. Let's come back to the studio. You know, Ovina, we're Africans.
Yes, we are.
We can't run away from that. From the nuclear to the extended family.
Yeah.
How do we help ourselves with this entitlement syndrome that comes from the extended family who think you are saving your money for yourself for rainy days, and they think you're just, you have a tree, you go to plug money, whenever they need it, you just give it to them. How do you do away with this entitlement syndrome from the extended family? It's a burden, especially on men.
You're right. It comes down to what it is. I think it was Prof that talked about getting the family to know exactly where we stand per time.
Yes.
Let's tell ourselves the truth. Transparency is key. You know why extended family makes demands on you? They actually perceive you. For instance, they see you and I on NTA. Mm-hmm. Let's say the truth. Some of these things is make-believe. I wouldn't dress like this in my house.
Of course not.
I'm dressed like this because, like our people say, I the first chop before I'm out to go chop. At least they're seeing me, they will receive you for your address the way you are dressed. So we are looking all gaily dressed. So anyone in the village will probably send me a letter to be the chairman of the nice launching in the village, not knowing that I have school fees to pay on January 10th. If you let your people know that I am not in the green chamber or the red chamber, and even the people in the green chamber, the rich also cry, have their own issues to deal with.
They cry more.
Their phones are buzzing. They hardly take it. I was sitting with a pump sec a few days ago, and I'm having lunch, and her phone rang, and I said, pick your call. I said, these people are calling to beg money. And I laughed. Now, so they already identified those who are calling to beg money. Now, it's this entitlement mentality is a function of us communicating to our people the reality of what it is that is going on in this country. The truth of the matter is that things have gone south.
Yes.
Even the government is smart enough to plan. The president signed into law the budget before January 1. That's how it used to be. So that by January 1, you read an address to the nation and say, this is where we are for now. And don't hide it. What are you hiding? Let's say the truth that we need to borrow 6 trillion to fund the budget. But the interesting thing, like Prof said, is there's nothing wrong in borrowing. I teach finances, I teach entrepreneurship. If you borrow to create wealth, not a problem. If you borrow within the limit of what you can manage, whether at the national or sub-national or personal level, not a problem. And then it comes down to what I talked about, knowledge. If you don't train them, you don't blame them. Have you trained your people? My dad had a practice. He would keep his pay slip at the head of the bed. Talking about you, Claire, asking husbands to increase your expenses. We understand we will increase, but we will increase to the limit of what we have. My dad was a lecturer and a teacher. My mom was also a teacher. They knew what they had.
It's simple economics.
Simple economics. Yes. So two of them, what they did was, daddy was a lecturer, mommy was a teacher. They will bring the money together. What are you hiding? How much do you even have that you are hiding?
I'm sorry.
So you're posing for your wife doesn't know how much you have. Did you demand more?
Let's pay some debt, Sobina. Let's pay some commercial debt. We'll be right back. All right, it's been an interesting conversation we're having on managing our finances, especially as the new year just started. Let me throw my question to my guest in, I think it's Abubakar Gwandu. And yes, we talked about knowing ourselves, cutting costs, but there's one issue. I don't know if it was you or Prof or Obina that mentioned it. The issue about appetite, preferences, and pressure, pair and family pressures. Now, these are fundamental issues that we really need to look into and know how we can begin to address it personally to be able to manage our finances. You know, our appetites, for instance, you know, women go for a lot of, you know, we look for foreign branded rice, for instance, foreign branded items. At this point, what do? Have we come to a point where we have to speak to ourselves and say, look, we must look inwards. We must rebrand our minds. We must rebrand. We must rejig our financial DNA. And by the way, I picked that up from a friend of mine, Nancy. Financial DNA. How do we begin to rejig our financial DNA? That is how we spend, how we think about money, and what we do with money.
Madam, it is all about mirroring yourself, looking inward, knowing your level, knowing your position, knowing your capacity and what you can do. Of course, there is a lot of pressure. From all corners, from all directions, people look onto you for solution to their problems. Unknown to them that you also have problems. You also can hardly solve maybe 50% of your problems. But then you have to be yourself. You have to take position. Yes, by our culture expects us to be our brother's keepers. But like I mentioned before, as a human being, you also have capacity. As a human being, you also have level. And there's a limit to what you can do. Economic resources are not abundant for everyone to have more than enough. And we know the situation today, inflation rate, higher cost of living, harsh economic weather and climate. And if you do not learn to manage properly, if you do not learn to live within your limits and within the limit of your resources and your capacity, it's very likely that sooner or later you will likely crash. And if you crash, probably you may hardly pick up. So we should tell the family, we should tell our friends, we tell our relations, and whoever expects anything from us, our level, our position, and like was said by Prof, we should open up. That we have nothing to hide. In fact, there's nothing to hide. You know? So tell the truth. Let your family know what you earn, how much you earn. Carry along your family what you want to do. You know, your plan for the future. Let them know. Carry them along. Let them appreciate what you are doing. Because if they do not know, if you do not create awareness in them, they will hardly appreciate what you do. They will hardly appreciate your limit and what you have capacity to do. And that is what normally creates, frictions in our houses. Most of the crises we are having in the houses, in our families, is due to lack of information, due to lack of awareness creation, because we don't carry our family along. We keep hiding. The wife hardly tell her husband how much she earns, the responsibility she has on her head. Likewise, the husband. Everybody, we are doing a mouse and whatever, that game, Everybody moving to a different direction. The family, the children, we don't tell them the truth. We try to show up. We try to create an impression in them that we are rich and we can provide everything they want. I think that is a wrong narrative that we need to change. And that was the reason why I earlier on mentioned issue of lifestyle change. We need to draw our priority. We need to draw what we have in economics that they call scale of preference, tie it and link it to your income. Don't go above your limit. And if you have reason to go above your limit, you have reason to borrow for a purpose. There's nothing wrong in borrowing, like was said by Chief of India, and like also mentioned by Prof. And whoever knows finance, knows that there's nothing wrong in borrowing. But borrowing also have its own complication, it have its own challenges, it have its own problems. So if you don't manage it well, if you don't use it for a realistic purpose, if you don't invest it in a way and in a project that will create more wealth and generate more money for you, so it's like you are consuming your tomorrow. You are consuming your future today, So these are things that families need to do. We need to open up. We need to be transparent. We need to tell the truth. And everybody knows his level. We all know our situation. We all know our challenges and the problems that are facing us. And the situation now, like was said by Prof, like the family issue of even family planning, nobody need to tell anybody. In fact, the institution that is campaigning for family planning, they don't even need to continue. The economic situation is telling us what to do. And it's left for individual, it's like a choice. The choice is left on us. It's on our hand to do what is right, to do what will get us out of, the problems. Yes, government has made budget at the state, at the federal. Government have told us that we are out of recession, like was said by Prof. Yes, we are out. Government is telling us the GDP is moving, so percentage. But has it trickled on you? Has it changed your condition? Has it made your condition better? That is on you. No matter how much you earn, whether 1 million, whether 500,000, or even 50,000, some are earning even 30,000, it all depends on your ability to manage. How efficiently have you managed what you have? No amount is big or small, and no amount will change your condition if you do not plan properly. And no amount of money will change.
Okay, Mal Abdullah, exactly. You've said it the way it should be said. And at times, even if you shout it from the rooftop, nobody would believe you that you don't have it. And that, people will not just understand. Like you talked about marriage. People are in marriage, but they are not partners in marriage when it comes to finances. Let me now join Professor John Alabi in Ayimba. How can we, put our wants and needs so that it can fall in line with the realities of life as it is now?
Thank you very much. The two words you are carefully choosing is wants and needs. Needs are the priorities. Wants are the things you might need, you might be aspiring to, but in the scale of preference or priority matrix, it's not essential. So it's important for us to identify those ones. Those ones that are critical for family survival and for growth. You must understand them. You know your finance already, you have the budget, but go along to excel. It's important. If you don't do that, you find that you'll be in problem. For instance, practically, why are you putting your kids in school that's so expensive that you cannot afford? Because Mrs. or Madam A or Mr. and Mrs. O are putting their school in that private school or in that expensive school. Just ensure that they attend an affordable and good school. That is one. Put yourself. Or some will rent an apartment. Why do you need to rent a 3-bedroom apartment when you can only afford a room self-contained? I was a graduate in Lagos in the 80s, and I said to myself, a lot of guys are picking 2-bedroom flats, even though it was cheap. Then, relatively, but I just said to myself, I'm just a single, a couple who just left school, and I'm on 400 naira in 1986. What do I do? I said, no, I'm going to pick something that I can afford. So take a house rent that you can afford. And our life, as you are planning it, like we have said, transparency. The issue of common purpose, if you preach this in church or tell in mosque, people don't listen. But if you have an understanding why, you should have a joint purpose. Be transparent about it. It's very important. What about some women? You are going to school, your children are going to school. Every day you prepare meal. Look at the options, for instance. Some will say, oh, maybe I have an option. I can do a takeaway, or I can buy a takeaway that will be enough. Some will say, no, I must go with all these requirements. Do not copy the Joneses. Very, very important. In our home, these are practical things too. What about our facilities at home? A lot of houses cannot fit 3 times, but they go for DSTV. For me, DSTV is kalu. Go for GoTV. Go for the one you can afford. Yes, you can still have free channels there. It's very important. You do not need to have jollof rice and chicken. Your meat should be healthy so that you don't go to hospital getting sick. It's very, very important. So you take advantage of so many things around. So I think practically as we go along, we must identify those basic things. All other things that are not critical in a scale of preference. Disease. We have what we call priority matrix. My chief there, you know very well. The quadrant. Urgent and important. Urgent and not important. Important and not urgent. And the ones that are not important at all and not urgent. A lot of us. I use myself as an example. A lot of my colleagues bought their car in the university. And I went through their pay slip. I know that they have mortgaged the next 2-3 years for servicing the loan. But I was going with my small car that I was enjoying. I have never bought a car with a cooperative loan. No. I save for that when I'm ready. Because I look at a car that is big, that has a room and is with AC and whatever, as a luxury. It's not a need. The need of the family is education. The need of family is to maintain. You mentioned the issue of extended family. Dear colleagues, we cannot divorce ourselves from our extended family culture. And like my brother rightly mentioned, make your stand known. I have not seen any family member that have come to me and asked me, I want to do a party. I need to buy this drink. I want to buy. They know I don't sponsor that kind of thing. And if you come to me, like my brother mentioned, your wife just delivered, I will assist you. But I will tell you that what do you have? If you don't have anything, then it means you go and pray more. You have. It's important. So these are the critical things. We must identify our needs. Some things are not necessary. That trip you want to make is not necessary. You want to attend every function. In naming ceremony, you are number 1. In burial, you are in the front. In housewarming, you are child lady. You want to be everywhere. Why? At times, it is wise to identify some few things. Send a 10,000 or 5,000 naira to a person in an envelope or an alert. He will appreciate you. But you travel 25,000 naira, 10,000 naira.
Professor Labi, thank you. Thank you. Indeed, we have very short time now, so we are trying to wind down. And thank you. But don't also forget that you know what they say about works. Faith without works. So when you say prayer without works, but let me come down here. You have started giving us, the basic steps to follow. You've started talking about the processes now, and I'd like Obina to also speak to that issue. And also, we have been talking about budgeting. It's not everybody that knows what budgeting really is. What are the steps? Because there are steps, there are processes in budgeting.
Yeah.
Quickly, within the very few minutes that we have, can you explain that to us?
Okay, budgeting is just an aspect of what I call the, I think it was Professor Lambo that created a mentorship program for us under the instruction of our pastor, Sarah Omako. And this is exactly what we did. We did what we called PDP, Personal Development Plan. You can also call it Strategic Life Development Plan. And under that, you have over 8 stages. Where would you be at age of 60? What would be your blood pressure at 60? What would your finances look like at 60? Now you are doing this anchoring. Would you want to have a coaching program? And if you do a coaching program, that means you can be paid for teaching people how to sit, etiquette, how to cross your leg, how to speak. It's also income generating. A lot of people don't know that you have all you need. What about health plan? Do you have a financial plan? Financial plan is that as we go into 2022, it's good to make that budgeting plan this early in the year so that as things come, you simply pull out that page and implement.
Can we speak more to the average Nigerian?
Yes,
in terms of budget? What should I do? Number one, yes. This is what you in budgeting process. This is what you do. Number one. Number two, this is what you do, and then at the end of the day, this is how it is implemented.
Very simple. Even the person you're talking about, I've told you, these taxi drivers and artisans are very smart.
Very,
very smart. It is you and I. I'm sorry. Okay, you are not involved. Me. No. Those of us who think this degree is part of our challenge. We think we know. Many of them already know what to do. They do not put their children, like Prof said, in schools that are beyond their limit. They keep them close where they use leg to go to school. No, those are little things. So keep your expenses. Just like we say in business, there are 2 ways you make money in business. For SMEs, we've talked so much about persons, and we're recommending people should create income. Part of creating income is that we need to get our people to create wealth. Creating wealth is to set up micro, small, and medium enterprises. Knowledge is profitable to direct. You have nicer microfinance bank.
I mean, like
no, I'm going to drag you into that.
Yes,
no, it's important.
How do you get started with the budget?
Knowledge. Get a mentor. Get a financial mentor. Get a business. When Prof mentioned mentor, I saw the reaction. Including civil servants, including you sitting down here. Get a financial mentor. Someone that will tell you how to free up assets. There are some clothes in your wardrobe you've not worn in the past 1 year. Bring them out. There are some wedding gowns that are there you can rent out. I know. There are some wedding gowns that people rent out. Set up a rental. I get what I'm saying. And then, talking about working as a team. Find out a cooperative. Form a mastermind group of people who can think alike. Who will tell you, Jumai, this one will not work. Jumai, can we go to Orange Market and buy 1 basket of tomato, 12 of us, and share? It will reduce the unit price. Those are practical things. Budgeting is that you should spend less than you make. And making is a function of, you say you don't have land for poultry. Find out who has land that has tied up in Karishi or on your way to Badagry or your way to Ariaria Market that has not been used for years. How don't we go? I have some money. If you put it all together, we can work together and share profits. The challenge we have is everybody wants to be now and Sons Nigeria Limited. But you have Claire, you have other. If we join forces and you give me what you have and I give what I do training. I go to Sokoto and I tell the people in Sokoto, send me onions. These are people in the prison service operation services. And then I give you the palm oil from Mungokwala. It's a simple matter.
Let's quickly get the closing on this issue. Yes.
Now let's go to Kaduna. Amana Abdullahi, let's have your closing thoughts. January, yes, we've discussed January. We still have 11 months to go to another January. Can you give Nigerians, the average Nigerian, like Claire says, how to manage the finances so that we don't go a borrowing or, begging people by June, July, we're already begging people that I don't have money. How do you manage your resources in the next 12 months so that you can survive 2022?
It's very easy, simple. We should be realistic. And we should not be extravagant. We should be prudent. We should operate and work within our limit. And we should avoid all form of excess luggages. Things that we don't need, things that are not necessary, things that are not important, we keep distance from them. That's just the best advice. And we should live a modest and simple life. If we do that, we don't have problems. We have excess or surplus that we can commit to savings, we can commit to investment, and prepare for the future. So I advise Nigerians that we should be realistic, we should be modest, we should live a simple life, and we should not be that extravagant.
Yes, we would like to thank you, Malam Abdullahi Abubakar Gwandu, who is a lecturer at Department of Management Sciences, Kaduna Polytechnic. Indeed, it's been a very interesting and engaging conversation we have with you. Thank you very much for all the points that you have raised. All right, let's quickly take just in 30 seconds, Professor Alabi. Professor Alabi, would you recommend saving via piggy bank? I see a lot of that coming up on the social stream. In less than 30 seconds.
Yep. Let's be careful about how we go saving. Important thing is that once you set your goals and you have a budget plan, create at least 20% of whatever you earn as savings. You will not die. Keep it in a very safe arena. Don't go to Ponzi scheme that will give you trouble. Keep yourself out of debt. Ensure that you seek help when needed. Above all, I say to you, locate your sycamore tree.
Professor Alabi, Professor John Alabi is Dean, Faculty of Management Science, Kogi State University, Ayingba, and Chairman, African Council for Small Business and Entrepreneurship. It's been we've had a fantastic engagement with you. Thank you very much for all the issues and points that you have given us. All right, let me also appreciate Obinna Urakba, who has also provided us with very important process and ways of managing our finances. Obinna Urakba is a personal development expert and entrepreneur. Thank you very much, Obinna.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Juma. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Obinna. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you've learned a lot on how to manage your finances in the next 12 months, because you definitely need to plan.
All right, I am Claire Delabu Abdul Razak, and don't forget, even though we are in the new year, our campaign against rape and rapists is still on, and we do enjoy you to join us in this fight. Do have a great day. From all of us, Happy New Year again.